Hey everybody, it is Monday, March 4th, and hopefully this is just astoundingly better video quality than what you've been used to on my channel. It's still like crappy cell phone footage, but it's significantly better crappy cell phone footage. So yeah, this is my new camera. I got an HTC U Ultra, which is praised for its camera. It's a few years old, but it's praised for its camera, and so I went that route when I knew I had to replace my phone because I wanted a good vlogging phone, and this seems to be pretty universally liked for vlogging. So really quickly, let me talk about what I have been reading. I have failed on the Sabriel front. Like, I am almost done with this book, and I still don't really feel like I understand what's happened in this book. Like, I get the basics, but I don't know, like, it's not clicking, and I don't know if the audiobook is just so easy for me to tune out that I'm just not absorbing the story at all. I think I'm gonna try to, like, physically read this one. I have it. I'm gonna actually try to read it and see, maybe I'm just not that into it. I don't know. There's some parts about it that I'm not crazy about. Like, there's some overly, like, descriptive text, and I feel like for as short as it is, it doesn't need that kind of stuff. It just felt like filler and padding for no real good reason. The characters I haven't really latched on to. The basic plot line, like, I get the steps along the way, but it just doesn't really track. Like, I can't really remember how they got from one point to the other. I don't know. I just don't think I was clicking with the audiobook. So hopefully I will pick this up as a physical read. I think I'm actually going to start it over right now and try to start reading it and just see if that seems to resonate better for me. I've never had this happen before. Like, I've gotten to the end of an audiobook and been like, I definitely didn't absorb that as fully as I could have, but I've never gotten to the end of an audiobook and been like, I just don't really remember what happened in this book. Like, I'm enjoying the ride, but as I, like, think back, it's just not clicking. It's a weird experience for me, and I don't like it. So, we're going to try this one again, but we're going to try to actually read it. I never talked about what that's about. It's about a girl named Sabriel, and her father, who is the Abhorsen, who is a necromancer, who kind of helps people move on. He's kind of like the reverse of a necromancer in a lot of ways. Instead of bringing people back from the dead, he kind of helps people move on to death. And yeah, he goes missing, and so she's off to try to figure out what's going on with all of that jazz. I am currently on page 200 of Thunderhead by Neil Shusterman. This is the second book in the Arc of the Scythe series, trilogy. I don't know how many books there's going to be. There's going to be at least one more. One more is coming. It's gonna be out sometime next year, this year. I don't really know things. But these books follow a utopian world in which a sentient computer has basically fixed all of the world's problems. There's no death, there's no war, there's no religion or politics or any of that jazz. It's pretty much fixed everything except for the fact that overpopulation is still a concern. There's still a limited amount of resources, so a separate governing body called the Scythes, or the Scythedom, basically try to curb that by killing people. That's their role in life. They permanently kill people. They're the only ones who are allowed to do that, and they basically work as population control. And this book definitely centers more around, like, the Thunderhead and the back and forth between those two governing bodies, and kind of like the weird political intrigue that exists between those two. I am very much enjoying this series, way more than I thought I was going to. Like, I thought, I basically pulled my expectations back quite a bit because a lot of people were hyping this up so much that I was convinced it was going to be overhyped and I wasn't going to enjoy it. So I pulled my expectations way back. Had I been going into this with those super hyped up notions, I still would have liked these books. They're just great. They're quality stuff. There's a lot of interesting things going on. Not everything makes perfect sense. I'm gonna say that right now. There's some things that I just don't understand why the Thunderhead can justify some things and not other things. Like, I feel like there's things that the Thunderhead could be doing differently that it's just not. But you know what? AI logic is AI logic. So something that has occurred since I read The Mists of Avalon is that I have kind of become obsessed with the idea of reading as many books that have to do with Arthurian legend as possible. There's a lot. There's not just a couple of those out there. There are so many books, and I don't really have a game plan other than I want to read them all. So for me, the obvious place to start would be Le Morte d'Arthur, which I think that's the consensus of how to pronounce that. I don't know. I've seen different pronunciations, but that seems to be the one that comes up the most often. And this is by Sir Thomas Malory and is the earliest compilation of all of the Arthurian legends that we know today. And I started it last night. It's kind of a hard thing to peg down. It doesn't really flow exactly like a narrative. It doesn't really flow exactly like a poetry collection. It's got the mythology elements. It's got the poetry aspects. It's got a lot of stuff going on. Most of it is just very short, easy to get through chunks, and it's very massive when you have it all together, but like each individual passage doesn't take but just a minute or two to get through, and that's been great because I can just have it on my phone as an ebook, and anytime where I've got a few minutes to kill, instead of like loading up Facebook and scrolling, I can open that up and read a passage or two, and I'm enjoying my time with it. It's a really interesting read. I do also plan on getting to The Once and Future King by T.H. White, which is an absolute classic and also one that is constantly referenced when you start looking up Arthurian literature. Holy crap, cat. So that's kind of like a new like sub-goal within my mass reading goal, which is just read all of the books. One of the sub-goals is read all the books on Arthurian legend, because, you know what? If you're gonna set goals, you better go big. Hey everybody, it is Tuesday, March 5th. Yeah, March 5th. And we need to talk about this book. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of this, but it's really good, and I would recommend it. I started Dracula by Bram Stoker today, and I had a feeling... Come on. I had a feeling that I was going to enjoy this book. And I thoroughly fell in love with this book. I'm not all the way done with it. But I am pretty far along. I started it, and I think I'm about 3/4 of the way through. I don't have it marked currently. But I believe I'm on chapter 20, so like that far in. And... okay, I knew going into it that it wasn't going to be like Hollywood Dracula. I knew that much. But what I didn't realize is that it's actually told in diary entries and letters and like reports and all of those things that I just adore. I'm not sure why I love that style of storytelling so much, but I love a good like found files type of story. And it just works so well. It's pretty slow-paced. Not gonna lie, it's pretty slow-paced. But it builds so well. It's got like some really intense moments. The first section reads like a thriller. The first section is just a full-on thriller. Are you quite finished? And it's great. And then you get into more like analysis stuff. It has a lot to do with insanity. It has a lot to do with just like the lore and the histories that go into the idea of what a vampire is. It's fantastic. It's so good. I think my favorite part, though, has been going through this book and finding, like, the original sources to so much of the Dracula lore. And a lot of it that has fallen away over the years that isn't as popular anymore. But things like the Three Sisters, things like the bug-eating servants and the having to travel with dirt and all of that stuff. It's really fun to go back through this first one and really get the original story and all of the stuff that was planted in it. That some of it's held true and lasted through the years, and some of it's kind of fallen away. But this is just immaculate in a lot of ways. It's just clicked with me so completely, and I am one that likes a good vampire story. I like vampire lore, and the fact that I hadn't read this yet was kind of ridiculous to me. But I love this kind of vampire story too, where it's almost approached more like a zombie novel, to where it doesn't focus so much on the vampire. It focuses a lot more on the people and how they're dealing with the fact that there's a vampire that they've got to deal with. And I like that approach. It's not so much about the vampire himself and more about the harm that he's caused to different people over the years. And it's really fascinating. It's a really interesting psychological read. And I like that. I like books that mess with my brain. Hey everybody, it's Wednesday and I finished the audiobook for Dracula and it's dope. It's real dope. It really reads more like as what I would call a zombie story than a vampire story, because here's the thing, in this book, becoming a vampire takes a long time. There's a long process that you have to go through to become a vampire, and there's a couple different instances where you're with characters who are like going through this process of vampirism, and it's just drawn out, and there's a lot of like psychological turmoil, and all of the characters around them are like trying to figure out what to do and how to help, and it's just, it feels like a situation where in a zombie movie somebody's been bit, and like the next however long, you know, it varies based on plot device, but however long is just all about the anticipation of the turn, and it was so good. Also, Renfield, amazing character. Like, just absolutely crazy bonkers awesome. And I loved that. I loved that character. I loved this book. Ugh. Gosh. I kind of just want to reread it again. What else? I started another audiobook because I've been, like, trying to get a bunch of crap done around the house, so audiobooks help me deal with that in a way that makes it more pleasant. But I think I have it over on the shelf. I started the audiobook for The Devil in the White City. Let's try that again. I started The Devil in the White City by Erik Larson. So this is a historical, like, true crime book. And I've been wanting to get more into true crime. Like, I feel like I would really enjoy true crime. As much as I don't like thrillers or any kind of, like, detective story, true crime fascinates me. This one is around the, I'm going to have to look at the back because I can't remember dates, the 1893 World's Fair, kind of like the development to building that, and then also the serial killings that happened during said fair. I'm not super far into it. I just started the audiobook. I'm really enjoying the details that are in here. Specifically the focus on details with the characters and how much the characters feel really well developed. I mean, they're real people, but like sometimes when I read something that's more like a history book, it just feels like you're just getting the Cliff Notes version of all these characters, and Erik Larson definitely takes time to develop these characters and like show them, maybe not 100% accurately, I don't know, I wasn't there, I didn't know these people, but in a way that really makes them personal. And yeah, there's just a lot of details about these people's wants and dreams and the things that infuriate them, and all of that kind of fleshes out the story even further than just the idea of this incredible thing that came together and then these awful things that happened because of that thing that came together. That was a nonsense sentence, but we're moving on. Like, already I feel myself wanting to read more of Larson's works because this is really well crafted. This is impressive what's been accomplished so far, and like I said, I'm just like in it a little ways. I don't even know. I didn't mark it this time, but I'm guessing maybe between like 50 and 70 pages, maybe. It's got me hooked. Like I want to know what happens next. I want to see all the things that happen in this book. But yeah, like I said, true crime. True crime has been a genre that I've been thinking, man, I need to read more of that because that crap's scary. Like, I can read 1,000 horror novels and never be even slightly skittish, but you read something that's based off of real people, holy crap, that crap's scary. So earlier while I was driving, I wanted to listen to an audiobook, but I was using a different device than what I had been listening to The Devil in the White City on, and so I decided I needed to start a whole new audiobook, And so I started Redwall, which I have read before, but it's been so long that I don't really remember anything about it. But for those of you keeping track at home, I am in the middle of 5 books right now, which is, I'm not going to say I have a problem, but that kind of feels like an excess. So just to quickly give you an idea of where I'm at on all of this, I'm on chapter 11, page 56 of Redwall. I am on chapter 29, page 302 of Thunderhead. I am on chapter 6, page 56 of my reread of Sabriel, where I'm actually trying to figure out why I couldn't understand that story. And I'm on, it's Pilgrimage is the chapter name. It's not really broken up in the chapters, but it's page 75 of The Devil in the White City. And I'm also 10% of the way through volume 1 of Lamort D'Arthur. And that's like chapter 10 of book 1, because there's a lot of different versions of that. So that clarifies that a little bit. So that's what I've been reading. And there's like 10 other books that I want to start immediately. So I gotta get through this pile. I'm not sure how. Hey, you're my shot, dude. Hey everybody, it's Friday. So I haven't done a huge amount of reading the past couple of days. Partly because we had a raccoon in our attic. And that took some time for me to figure out how to deal with. I kind of had to like rig some stuff up to where I could tell when it left. Like it would make a sound when it left. And then I went up and like shined a light and tried to make sure that it wasn't there, and then I kind of sealed it off. And it was kind of all set up in a way to where it could get out if it was still in, but it couldn't like get back in if it was out. And I think we're rid of it. I think we're rid of the raccoon that was living in our attic. That's what I assume it was. But we need to take a couple of days to make sure that there's nothing up there before we like permanently seal all the places where it figured out how to get in. Because I don't want to trap a raccoon in my attic. That seems like the worst thing I could do. But that cut into my reading for obvious reasons. I have gotten about to the halfway point of Redwall. That book's just charming as all get out. I really like it. And I really like the fact that it draws out the idea of like war and sieges and battles, and like really like approaches it in a very mature way. I appreciate that about that book in particular. I think that's the only one that I've ever read, and honestly, I'm not even entirely sure if I finished it or if I just like read chunks of it, because very little of it is like coming back to me. Maybe I'm just familiar enough with the story that I thought I had read it. I don't know, but I feel like I know very little as I'm going through this book, but I'm enjoying it immensely. And there's a lot of books in this series, and I don't know how many of them are considered like really worth the read. If it's really something that I want to try to like go through the entire series, but I may want to like just continue until I lose interest, because I don't know, they're such classic middle grade fantasy, and I love that. I mean, that's like a jam. I'm also just a little further along in The Devil in the White City. I'm learning all kinds of stuff about architecture. I now know all kinds of things about how awful the soil in Chicago is for building, and also like all kinds of very specific information on how to build a furnace that's soundproof and can be a good disposal for human bodies. So, there's that. It is like already kind of creepy in a lot of ways. Like you just know. I mean, you know what's gonna happen, and so taking all of this time to like really get into the headspace of Holmes is terrifying, and I don't entirely feel comfortable doing it, but also I'm like riveted and I want to continue on. So that's where I am. But I haven't made any progress on any of the other books that I'm in the middle of, and I really need to finish Thunderhead because I think it's due back. I think the library's going to get mad at me if I just hang on to it. Yeah, that's it. I feel like this footage was really shaky. I apologize. My arm's just super tired because, crawling up into attic spaces and moving crap around and everything. So I'm being super lazy and like have my arm super extended but also like propped up on my knee, and it's a mess. I will continue to say, if you expect quality content from this channel, good luck with that. I am happy being just a mess of a YouTube channel, and you just get what you get here. And I think YouTube needs more of that. There's too many polished YouTubers out there. You need some grimy, don't have a clue what they're doing YouTubers to kind of balance it out. I am kind of thinking though that I'm gonna have to end the vlog here. I've got a busy weekend ahead, and in order to fit in all of the editing time that I need to do, I'm gonna go ahead and call this one quits. But hopefully I'll have made all kinds of progress before I start filming the next vlog and be able to like really discuss some of these books, because I feel like I did pretty strong the first half of the week, and then the second half of the week I was just like I can't do any of this right now. And now I have like a busy weekend ahead, so we're gonna call this one a vlog.